9:30 in Connecticut.
Yeah. I'm well up by now.
Yeah,
On a Friday, got a lot of
I'm
stuff to
up,
do. Um,
obviously.
but but we wanted to talk about a couple things today. Um, First, we want to talk about Hamina. So what is it, Brian? We saw a really good demo this week.
Yeah, we did a channel webinar with Hamina, with UC, Joel, and Jerry, the infamous Jays.
Yes.
Is what UC kind of commented to me. They're very familiar. Hamina. What is Hamina? It's like I said before, it's really a enterprise level Wi-Fi designing tool to design like high performance Wi-Fi. And
Yep.
all Wi-Fi should be, regardless if you're in a house or like in a stadium, you want the highest performance out of your Wi-Fi as much as possible, right? Or the best Wi-Fi. So they're providing, like I said, like a enterprise level Wi-Fi design tool for like, and making it really accessible to everybody. And that kind of aligns with EnGenius. Like we're trying to make technology, accessible to everybody. Like new Wi-Fi technology, new cloud technology, accessible to everybody. So they had this. We did a webinar with them with the team, and they did a demo of the Hamina wireless network planner tool. Right?
Yeah.
They have different variations of the network planner tool, and it uses the same science as like Ekahau,
Yeah. There's
which
been a
is
bunch
really
of heat
nice.
mapping tools around, right? Um,
Pardon?
and Ekahau was like one of the tops. First it was Air Magnet, then Ekahau, and now Hamina is like trying to take that lead position.
Yeah. Well, they're kind of being the disruptor, right?
Yeah.
Um, so what, if you don't mind, how much is a Ekahau license? Like for one
Right
license?
now, let's take a look here. Um, so yeah, right now they keep increasing the pricing, and
They
they're
keep increasing.
yeah, they keep increasing the pricing. I mean, they're adding new features, I guess. But for right now, MSRP is $59.95 for Ekahau AI Pro software. And then you need a support contract with it. They won't sell it without, and that's $15.95 a year. Um, and that's for
15.95 a
software
year.
only. That's for software only. Now you can do active surveys with Ekahau also. For that, you need a Sidekick hardware device, which that's $44.95. So yeah, it's quite an investment. Now,
The sun is
sun is
coming
coming
in from the
in. The sun's coming in,
background.
but we can still see you.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
problem
Cool.
with
Uh,
California. Too much sun.
well, not no. The last week, well, when you were here, you saw kind of how
Oh
it
yeah,
was,
it was like raining. Yeah.
raining big time. So yeah, so I'm sorry, the Ekahau license for 1 year. What is it for one license?
Um, it's about $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Hamina, you're using the same tech,
Yeah.
the same science, I should
Mhm.
say, right? You're taking Wi-Fi magic, the magic of Wi-Fi, and you're turning it into science, and you're able to design networks. You can use obstacles. There's 3D modeling. There's real-time heat maps. You can support all major Wi-Fi APs, specifically EnGenius technologies, indoor and outdoor, the cloud APs. You can add in switching to that. It's going to help you with understanding the cable links, your PoE budgets, port densities, like how many ports you need. There's a multiple things there, right?
And
What
they
I
also
really
have
like
the
is,
the sorry, they also have the automatic drawing in the walls
yeah,
automatically, right? So,
yeah,
um,
that's what I was just going to say
yeah.
too. So I know with some tools, a lot of work goes into drilling in the walls, which you kind of have to do because that's going to be that's going to tell you how accurate your site survey is going to be. So if you just kind of like half-ass the walls, right? For lack of better words. But
Yeah,
if you half-ass the walls in, and like the output of information you're getting is probably not going to be that great.
for
But
sure.
so they have a 6-month license, right, for Network Planner. That's $390, and then a year for the Network Planner is $780. So, and then they have Network Planner Plus, which adds in um, cellular, 4G, 5G. There's support for other frequencies all the way down to 450 megahertz, all the way up to 6 gigahertz. So there are some added features to that. So you can get Network Planner Plus for $780 for 6 months, and then annually you can get it $1560 a year.
Yeah, and most people, if you're doing a Wi-Fi network, the Network Planner Plus is Network Planner for $390 for 6 months. That's going to be really all you need to get going. Um,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. Yeah, the price difference is crazy. It is a web-based tool also, so you don't need to install anything on your PC. You don't need any like special hardware to run it.
Yep.
Um, so pretty interesting. And also, they talked about how you can share the projects out. So like, let's say I designed a network, and I, had a subscription, and then I wanted to share it with you or share it to my customer that's going to be doing the install or buying the hardware. You can share that. They don't need to have a membership, right? They can view it on there.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
then they
exactly.
also talked about how if I'm looking at right now, more product, less extortion. So if you do, let's say your 6 month expires and then you don't need it for another 6 months, and then you have another project, when you sign up again, they're going to maintain all your projects in there. They said they're not going to charge you like a extortion fee to get back into your projects.
Yeah. Which is pretty nice.
It is pretty nice. I think the next
There's a lot
time.
of flexibility in that, right?
Exactly. I mean, so I've been using Ekahau for quite a while. I own a copy that it was, even the partners, they charge to buy a copy, right? So I do own a copy of it. I don't update the support though because I only use it for planning. And I'm not gonna be paying $1,500 a year, right? I'm kind of locked in on an older version.
Yep.
So the next project I'm asked to heat map, I'm gonna try Hamina. I'm gonna sign up and try it and see how it works, and I
Yep.
think I'm gonna be using that going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Now you and I were kind of talking about, EnGenius has a tool too, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Which which is called Easy Wi-Fi Planner. So we were talking a little bit about that, and the listeners or watchers might go, "Oh, well, why wouldn't you just use the tool that you provide rather than Hamina?" Well, Hamina, they hyper focus on network design tools, and that's all they do, right?
Yeah.
Whereas we're a bit broader. We have a end-to-end solution, hardware networking solution, but we do have a tool that will help you design networks. But as they get more and more complicated, and as they get multi-level, when you're talking about AP placement at different heights, for example,
Mm-hmm.
when you have, like I said, multi-floor, right, where AP starts stacking.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about client density, like the number of clients as well, that's where you want to start to move into a little more advanced tool like Hamina Wireless.
Right.
Right? Would you agree, or what do you
Yeah,
think?
for sure. Like especially when you talk about capacity, like so that when you're talking about a school or like a stadium or something like that, you really need to look at capacity as well as coverage because
Yeah.
you have a lot of people in one area in an auditorium in a convention center. That's where you really need to have a really good modeling tool that's going to look at capacity and coverage and channel overlap and all this stuff.
And
Multiple
3D
floors,
modeling.
3D modeling between floors because you're going to have some some coverage going
For
between
channel
floors.
interference, all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so when you're talking about those types of situations, then you do need a tool like this to model it, and the cost of entry is pretty low. So I would definitely recommend it. And I'm gonna be trying it for myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, the EnGenius Easy Wi-Fi Planner, it's good for, small. You're doing a smaller network. You should always use it to visualize where your APs are, right? So even if you used Hamina to plan it out, you could put the floor map back into the EnGenius Cloud, into Wi-Fi Planner, and place the APs on the floor plan, right? With and then use that in that capacity.
Yeah, it's a really nice easy Wi-Fi planner. I think you might be able to do this with Hamina as long as it saves as a PDF, which I think it does, right?
Yeah.
You can transition from the site survey to like the real world instance that you have with the cloud. So you can take that easy Wi-Fi planner PDF or the Hamina wireless PDF for that matter, and you can upload that into the EnGenius Cloud on floor plan view. Like you said, you drop those APs in there.
Yep.
Now, if you're running Pro, you can actually draw in obstacles. I think our dB loss on the different obstacles are very, very similar. Now, you can fine tune the dB loss in the Hamina tool, but we do have similar obstacles with the same dB loss. Like a brick wall, for example, or thin glass, that kind of thing. And so you can actually see the RF propagation on that floor plan view. The other really cool thing that our engineering team did is added in something called virtual AP. And virtual AP allows you have coverage area and you recognize there's a new building being constructed. You can actually drag and drop virtual APs to see, okay, if I add these 3 APs here, will it give me coverage in that new area or this where there's a hole, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The other really cool thing with the cloud is that I can tap on the floor plan on the AP. There's a toolbar or like a little wrench. I can make modifications to the radio configurations and see what the coverage looks like on the map. And if I like what I see, I can apply changes to the physical AP that's in the environment. So
that is really nice. So you definitely want to use that map view in the EnGenius Cloud, even if you're using another tool to plan it, is what we're gonna say, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then one other thing about this, when you should get the best possible floor plan, PDF, JPEG, whatever you get. A lot of times what we get is not optimal, right? Like they'll send me something that's kind of blurry. There's no scale on it. And, we don't have a lot. And they want to put the APs in the hallway. Like that's kind of what they tell us, right? When they come to us.
Yeah, normally we get the, the fire exit map.
It's like
where
blurry
the
and like not straight. It's like crooked.
Yeah. Typically, that's hotels stuff, right?
Yeah,
like that's the maps we get. But if it's a larger project, right? Like the project is something where you have to present a really good report on what your deployment plans are, what your phases will be. You have a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, how you deploy on larger scale projects. You should have a really good floor plan or a map.
Yeah.
And the smaller projects where you're talking about a lot of budgetary things, you might not have this, a nicer map. But, if you want to do if your customer, your end user wants you to do a really nice job in deploying Wi-Fi, and it's not a guessing game, then they're going to supply you with all the materials that you need, such as a floor plan.
Yeah, for sure. So make sure to get that and try to get a real scale so you don't have to use doorways to scale the drawing, which
I mean,
I have to do a lot of times.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
No, you can easily use Google Map, right, and locate the building. It's going to tell you the length of the wall.
Yep. We do that a lot too. If we can find the building, if they'll give us the location, we'll find it on Google Maps and use the length of the building, to put that in as a scale, which is pretty decent. It's not like as good as a floor plan, but you gotta work with what you got. Even I'm even doing some like without any type of floor plan, just looking at Google Maps and figuring out how many rooms a hotel has and drawing it in the walls. It's better than nothing, right? Like, it gives you a really good idea.
It's going to give you an idea. Like, in depending on the area, they should be able to tell you what the construction is of the exterior walls and the
Yeah.
interior walls. You either have drywall, brick, or concrete, wherever it may be, so that they can give you a good idea of that.
And I end up looking on Street View too, and I look at like how many floors are in the hotel, like what I think it's
Yeah.
made out of, like I'll walk by it, and that's kind of what you have to do sometimes, right?
Yep.
All right, so one other thing we want to talk about was the pro licensing, EnGenius Pro licensing. So talk about that a little bit. Like, if a customer tries to add, let's say they just got 3 new access points and a gateway, and they try to add them to their org, and then they get a message that, oh, the license is expired. Now, what does that mean?
Yeah, there's a couple scenarios. So you have to identify what license are expired or what devices, right?
Yeah.
So it could be that you're putting in new devices into an organization that is pro, and new devices will go into pro because you get a free 1 year, right?
Right.
Subscription or free 1 year, right? If you want to use pro, you don't have to use pro. You
It's
can have
more like a
basic on.
trial, right? It's like a trial.
Yeah, it's a trial. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's full pro.
It's a full pro for a year.
Yep, and you assign them to the organization that's set to pro. But if you get a message about it expiring or something expiring, you need to check the other devices within your inventory or within that org, because it's most likely another org that has the expiration license on it.
Right.
It shouldn't be a
showing the
brand new
message.
device.
I'm
Pardon?
showing the message right now.
Yeah.
So okay, so what they could do, they don't necessarily have to buy a pro license if they get that message. They could switch the entire org back to basic.
To basic. Yeah, it's very easy. We have some warning messages, so a lot of people get thrown off by the warning messages, and they're like, oh, I don't want anything to happen. But if you're using, say, for example, I have an organization and I have it set to pro, and all my free licensing runs out, and I am not using a pro feature, right? Like like Google authentication on the SSID. If I'm not using Google authentication on the SSID, I just have an SSID that has WPA3 Enterprise with Radius on there, and I'm not using Google authentication, I can turn it to basic and it's still going to work.
Right.
There's no issues there. Now, if I have Google authentication on there, and I do turn off Pro, actually, Google authentication is still going to work.
Oh, okay.
However, if you want to make changes to any of the APs, for example, you won't be able to, because cloud will no longer manage those devices. They'll still operate and still work, but the ability to push commands from cloud to the devices, you won't be able to do that until you turn off Pro and turn on Basic or buy the license.
Got it. So those features won't stop working. Even if you are using Pro features, you just won't be able to modify your configuration until you buy the Pro license.
Because every one of those devices is pulling a configuration and loading the configuration to the device, and it saves it there.
Yeah.
And then, if you're writing new commands within cloud, or you're making changes within cloud, if they're connected, they're going to make that more recent change.
Yeah.
And you can tell it will say out of date on the AP or the switch or the gateway, gateway or the switch or the AP. It's going to say out of date on the detail page of that particular device.
Okay. So the other thing they could do, if they wanted to use their free year of Pro with the new devices, they could create a new org. And,
yes.
And just put those devices in the org. Then those new devices will have the full year. The other devices in their other org, the license will expire and they'll have to switch them back to basic eventually.
That's right. Yep. Yes, we try to make it as flexible and easy as possible. So you can have 100 orgs and 10 of them can be on Pro, and the other 90 can be on Basic. It's no problem.
And what is it about switches and APs, like the switch?
Oh.
So only one has to be on Pro, right? You can switch them back and forth?
Yeah, so say, for example, I want to use advanced features on the AP side, but not on the switching side.
Yeah.
Right? I just want the layer 2 switch, and utilize the PoE. I'm not using any Pro.
Right.
Like the only thing on Pro with the switches is more or less MAC address tables
Yeah.
within cloud. You can still access those, but you have to access those locally. But if I'm not using Pro features on the switch side, but I am on the AP side, I can have just my APs with Pro licensing and my switches without on running basic.
Right.
Same thing with the gateway. I can run the gateway on basic, the switches on basic, and have my APs on Pro.
Okay.
Or I can have all my APs on basic, my switches on Pro, and my gateway on basic, for example.
Yep.
So we made it really, really flexible.
It's flexible, and you do get that free year. But if you have it confuses people when they see that message sometimes. So we tried to explain that, and I think we did the best we could
Yeah.
with that.
Well, we just got to make everybody aware. Hey, the license is running out.
Yeah.
We cannot not message them, right? They have to know.
Yeah, because you don't want to go in there like when you have a problem, right? Let's say they just let that message. They're in Pro. They don't go back in there for like a year. Then they have a problem, and all of a sudden they see that message, and they're worried that they're not gonna be able to. They don't know that they can switch back to basic, right?
Yeah. I would say that probably about 80% of the networks that are out there right now under cloud could be basic, but I would say a majority of people utilize Pro because there's really good diagnostic tools, a lot of tools that you can use that are that you can utilize for like just troubleshooting remote items.
There's a lot of nice
like
to have
packet
features.
capturing, for example, is one of the.
Yeah, like on the switches, you can do a packet capture, things like that, right?
Or you can build switch templates. There's a multiple things that you can do with Pro. So people just utilize Pro just regardless. I mean, you're only talking for APs and switches, $50. That's MSRP. That's like not necessarily the pricing that you get with like from your from Keenan Systems, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But it's $50 per device per year, which in retrospect and in this industry is really, really aggressive pricing.
It is because like for those features, you're actually using more cloud space, right? Like,
you're utilizing a lot of space.
Because like cloud radius users, you could have how many 500 radius users in there, or
so radius is going to be all dependent on the radius server, but if you're running our embedded cloud, we have a cloud radius. Under basic you get 100. And that's it's just a license free, right? But when you go into Pro, I won't say unlimited, but you can have a lot of users. I would say 500 is fair. It might be more than 500.
It could be more than 500. So that takes up cloud space. It costs money. That's where that licensing fee goes to.
We're storing logs. We're storing. There's a ton of things. We're giving you 30 days, right, of storage, right?
Yeah.
Under the Pro, under Basic, I think you're getting like 7 days.
7 days.
Of storage at that point.
All right, so
storage data.
I think we went over that. But if anyone has any questions, just let myself, or Brian know, and we can try to answer those. And remember to like and subscribe, and we'll be back next week.